Reasonable Doubt Season 3 Episode 6 kind of pissed me off just a little bit because we are no closer to figuring out who killed Wendy, why Eddie is really back in town to reconnect with Jax, and we still don't know Ozzie's alibi. I just wish we could get more clues at this point. But before I get into my recap, let me introduce myself. My name is Brandi, and I realize that you could be on any channel in the world, but you're right here with me, and I really do appreciate that. So before we get started, please go ahead and like this video. It really does help the channel out, and I deeply appreciate it. And also, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you do like watching TV show reviews and also movie reviews. So episode 6 kicks off with Ozzie having a bad dream. In this dream, we see Monica tying up Wendy, and she's calling her a lying bee. In my head, I'm like, wait, is this a dream? No, or is this a flashback? Because in the trial, we learned that Wendy may have been tied up to a chair because she had rope burns on her arms and on her ankles. But nonetheless, Ozzie comes to, and Monica is there in real life to comfort him. In the next scene, we see Jax at her dad's Narcotics Anonymous meeting, and they're celebrating him being sober for 5 years. Jax meets Eddie's supposed sponsor, and they even take a flick together. But my question is, why did Eddie feel it was necessary to invite Jax, who has such a busy, stressful life, to his meeting? She's on trial, she has children, she has a husband. Why do you think she want to come to your 5-year sobriety meeting? And when Jax leaves the NA meeting, the sponsor turns to Eddie and says, when are you going to tell her the real reason that you're here? I just can't wait till we get to the real reason why Eddie is trying to reconnect with Jax. If you remember from the trailer of this show, we see Lori Harvey, and I'm thinking that Lori Harvey might be Eddie's daughter and Jax doesn't know about it. But in my opinion, that's not a big enough reveal for me that Lori Harvey is the daughter. Like, I don't care. And we see at the end of this episode that Jax's husband, Lewis, he called off the investigation of Eddie. Remember in the last episode, he was stalking Eddie, trying to figure out why Eddie was back in town. But we see that he calls Daniel like, listen, I'm good. You know, Jax wants to reconnect with her dad. You know, let the chips fall where they may. But then he gets a phone call from Daniel, and Daniel informs Lewis that one of his sources gave him some really good intel on Eddie. So Lewis, he calls over Eddie to come to the house at the end of this episode. And Lewis says, I know the real reason why you're back in town. But Eddie says something to the effect like, I don't think it's best that we tell Jax right now that Mama Lou has cancer. But Lewis looks shocked. So that is not the intel that Lewis found out about Eddie. So yeah, that might be one reason why Eddie is back in town. But let me say this too. I don't think Mama Lou got no damn cancer. I don't know why. Like, they didn't foreshadow that enough. Well, I guess in the last episode, Mama Lou did say something like, well, when I'm dead and gone, Jax, you're not going to have anybody to blame for all your problems. But other than that, I didn't see much foreshadowing or many clues that Mama Lou had cancer. But nonetheless, Jax is in disbelief and she is distraught. But again, I do not think that's the real reason why Eddie decided to reconnect with Jax. Now, let's talk about Jax and her strategy to put Monica on the witness stand. We see Jax and Tommy at Ozzie's house, and Jax is trying to convince them that they need Monica on the stand. She's not trying to prove that Monica actually killed Wendy. She's just trying to cast reasonable doubt so the jury won't find Ozzie guilty. Ozzie is really hesitant, though. He says everybody already knows about the essay, but he doesn't really want to put a face to it. And Jax says to him, like, listen, you are fighting for your life. When are you going to put yourself first for once? Like, you could go to jail for life and you sitting up here and you don't want to put Monica on the stand? And then Tommy, a.k.a. Billable Bill, he interjects and says, Jax, can I have a moment with you? So Ozzie leaves the room and Tommy tells her, like, listen, I don't think it's a good idea to put Monica on the stand either. And she tells him, like, listen, we are trying to save this young man's life. Basically, like, I know what I'm doing. I got this. But later on, Tommy uses that same conversation against Jax. The partners, Vince and Steve, I believe their names are, they come up to Tommy and say, hey, remember we told you that something big was coming down the pipeline? Well, the truth is we're getting acquired or we're merging with a much larger company. It's going to mean a lot more money for us, but also a lot more politics. And we know that Jax doesn't like to play nice. And Tommy spills the beans immediately. And Tommy says, yeah, I can see that Jax doesn't play nice. You know, she wants to put Ozzie's agent on the witness stand. I told her I thought that was a horrible idea, but she didn't hear me out. And the partners are grateful that Tommy gave them that intel. And they said, hey, we're going to find a way to bring this up to Jax without throwing you under the bus. But my thing is, Tommy, like, use your brain. Like, do you want to be in Jax's shoes? Do you see what they're doing to her? They're trying to get her up out of that law firm. And not only that, that, do you think that these partners are really gonna trust you when you're snitching on Jax? Your credibility is shot. But I know for sure that this is gonna backfire on Tommy. Now we see Jax and Tommy at a partner meeting, and they're going around the table and just asking for updates. And when they come to Jax, they ask her, well, who are you gonna put on a witness stand? And she discloses to them that it's going to be Ozzie's agent that she's going to bring up there first. And they tell her that that's risky to have an agent on the stand because an agent negotiates every day. Like, it could backfire on Jax. But she informs them, like, basically, I got this. Stay in your lane. Mind your business. But Jax, she clocked it. She did, because we see her later on going in Tommy's office and asking him, like, whoa, did you tell Vince and Steve that I planned on putting Monica on the stand? And Tommy played right in her face. Like, he gaslit her to the extreme. He said, listen, I can see why you're paranoid. I see how they're always questioning you, but I would not tell any of your business like that. I am loyal to the soil. So Jax, she lets it slide for now, but trust and believe she's going to come back to that conversation. But now she got her eyes on Tommy. Matter of fact, Tommy got hit with a form of karma kind of quick. So him and his wife, Kendra, they had a dinner date set up, and the date seems to go really nicely. I didn't see any red flags or any issues with their date. When Tommy goes to drop his wife off at home and he goes in for a hug and a kiss, she's hesitant and she pushes him away, and she tells him, like, listen, I contacted a divorce attorney. Yes, we had a great date, but listen, I'm just, I'm not ready to reconnect right now. I know that this is a cycle with us. It looks good for now, but in a few months, it'll be back to the same bullshit. And Tommy looks heartbroken. He really does. He is shocked because the date went well. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little shocked too. In my head, I'm like, Kendra girl, why did you even go on a date with him? Like, everything looked like it went well. Like, if you didn't want to reconnect with him, why waste your time and go to dinner with him? And part of me is saying that for selfish reasons too, because that scene for me was just fluff. Like, I didn't need to see that. I want to see more of the courtroom drama. I want to see more of the investigation. In fact, like I said on my last video, I am still craving to see more information about Wendy. We have yet to see Jax and her team even scroll through Wendy's social media accounts. I mean, we don't know nothing about Wendy at this point, and that is a big gap in this show. Can I say y'all do a background check on Wendy? And what about verifying Ozzie's passwords? Remember on the last episode, they said that they were going to check his streaming services to verify that he was at home the night that Wendy died. Like, what happened to that? And being that I'm so impatient to get more clues to lead us to actually finding out who killed Wendy, the next scene felt kind of like a filler scene to me as well. We see Jax and Lewis in a therapy session, and they're discussing Lewis's parents coming to town from Philadelphia. Jax tells the therapist how Lewis's parents are like the perfect couple. They're in love, they're professional, and they're like the Huxtables in her eyes. And she's nervous of what Lewis's parents will think of her dad, Eddie, because Eddie off the hook and he got a mouth on him. But you can tell that Lewis is nervous as well, because he says, like, listen, I don't think Eddie should be at this family dinner. Like, he's just coming back into the family. Maybe we should hold off on this and just have a nice low-key dinner with my parents. But they decide to just let everything play out and let Eddie attend the family dinner. And do you know, when they had the family dinner, everything went well, except for one thing. Lewis's parents divulged to him that they are now separated. They don't live together. They haven't shared the same bed in years. In fact, the dad says that he is selling his house and he's moving to Florida. And Lewis is devastated because he had this picture perfect image of his parents in his mind as well. But before Lewis could get his panties in a bunch too much, Eddie saved the day. He started talking to Lewis's parents about Philly and about the Delphonics and about his music career, and they hit it off right away. They're laughing, they're joking, they're chopping it up, and they don't revisit the conversation about Lewis's parents separating. But Lewis's dad checked Lewis like, listen, I'm grown. I've been grown since before you were even born. Like, I don't have to tell you all of my business. And you know who else checked Lewis on this episode? His brother Terrence, whom I really like. I would love to see him more in Reasonable Doubt. Terrence tells him in a later scene, like, hey man, like, why are you so upset about mom and dad separating? Look at you and Jack's situation. I mean, you had a whole side baby. Like, nobody's perfect. Now let's talk about Daniel spying on Kristen outside of a restaurant. Daniel is laying low in the car with his camera zooming in on Kristen talking to a man, and at that point he's not really sure what's going on. Kristen hugs the guy and then they go into the restaurant. So at first I'm like, is Daniel just jealous? But I really think that Daniel was on his A game in this episode. In fact, I was actually like like scratching my head and thinking like, wait a minute, like I thought Kristen was playing Daniel. Like on the last episode, whenever Daniel asked Kristen a question, she goes in for a kiss or she tries to seduce him. But now I'm even thinking that Daniel is playing Kristen for information. But side note, I like Daniel's little haircut in this episode too. He looks so cute, and I just hope that he does not get in trouble for messing with Kristen, because we do see outside of one of the courtroom scenes that Crystal, Jax's other assistant, sees Daniel hugging Kristen, and she's looking real suspicious like, oh, I know he is not getting involved with the client's sister. So hopefully Daniel don't get in no trouble, and hopefully it's not a conflict of interest that could jeopardize the case. Let's talk about Monica coming to Ozzie's house after she was served the subpoena. She was upset. She's banging on Ozzie's door. He lets her in like, listen, it's my birthday. Like, you ain't got no cake. You ain't got no balloons. What's up? And she's just pissed off. She's like, yeah, Jax got me served. I got a subpoena. Now they want me to be a witness in court. And her and Ozzie get into a heated exchange. You could tell that Ozzie thinks that she may have killed Wendy, and Monica also thinks that Ozzie may have killed Wendy. Monica tells Ozzie like, listen, I got rid of the bloodstained hoodie that was in your bedroom. And Ozzie seems a little bit confused by that comment. And he's like, what were you even doing in my bedroom? But Monica and Ozzie's conversation was cut short because it was some banging on the door. And somebody was like, it's the police, nigga. Open up. We know you did that shit. And I was cracking up once I found out that it was Ozzie's friends. Shout out to Cordell in this episode too. Very good to see him. But nonetheless, his friends come. They got bottles. They got balloons. And Ozzie is like, see, this is how your friends come through on your birthday. Because Ozzie trying to party and turn up. And in my opinion, it doesn't seem like he's missing Wendy. And it doesn't seem like he's on a murder trial. But to give Ozzie some credit, his friends was trying to get him to do some bumps. They was trying to get him to drink bottles, and they wanted the big booty bitches, by the way, in their own words. So Ozzie says no to the bumps and to the bottles. He just said he got some weed that he gonna smoke. And listen, before I go any farther, the actor that plays Ozzie, his name is Kyle Berry, I believe. He killed it in this episode. I mean, I love seeing him on the screen. He shows so many different sides of himself in this episode. He was hot, he was cold, he was mean, he was nice. Like, he is such a good actor, and I can't wait to see him in more shows. But anyway, strippers come through, and Ozzie and his boys are partying it up for his birthday. And Monica is still in the cut, and she is just looking jealous when Ozzie is getting a lap dance by one of the strippers. And you could just tell, to me, it just looks like she's just upset that Ozzie is partying with women that are his age. So Ozzie goes into the bedroom with one of the strippers, right? And they get into it. The stripper is on top of him. And Monica, she creeps into the room and she's watching Ozzie have sex with the stripper. Ozzie locks eyes with Monica. So he sees her watching, right? So he's continuing doing his thing with the stripper. And meanwhile, Monica is playing with herself and getting off. It was such an awkward scene to see because you could tell that Ozzie and Monica's relationship is really deep. Like, she is obsessed with Ozzie. Once Monica is finished touching on herself and bringing herself to ecstasy, Ozzie, he throws the stripper off of himself. Like, he was just Jekyll and Hyde in this episode. He randomly threw the stripper off of him and told her to get out the house. And I was just like, what happened there? Like, what did that mean? Comment down below. Why did Ozzie abruptly just kick the stripper out like that? Like, I was very confused by that. Now, back to the courtroom, we see Ozzie's sister take the stand, and the prosecutor is pressing her. He's questioning her about some text messages that she sent Ozzie, but she decided to unsend those text messages. And this was on the same evening that Wendy was killed. And Ozzie's sister, she's stuttering, she's stammering, she's saying all of the wrong words. She even calls Ozzie impulsive, which is the wrong word to use when you're on the stand describing somebody that's suspected of murder. And I'm in my head like, does Kristen want her brother to go to jail? Like, I was really starting to think like it's some bigger conspiracy here. Like, maybe it wasn't just one person that killed Wendy. Maybe it's just multiple people involved. Now, here's where things got really interesting. We see Monica take the stand. But before she took the stand, she had a quick meeting with Jax at Jax's office, and Jax told her, like, listen, we need everybody that's close to Ozzie to testify on the stand. And I'm just going to question you. I'm just going to ask you about your relationship with Ozzie as his agent only. That's it. So Monica agreed that she would take the stand. I mean, she was subpoenaed anyway, so she would have had to do it. But her talking to Jax made her a little bit more comfortable with going up there. In fact, I think it stroked her ego because she was like, nobody knows Ozzie better than me. Nobody has his back better than me. So I'm glad to go up there. But when she goes up there, Jax flips the script. Jax tells Monica to read aloud a text message that she sent to Ozzie. And the text message says something to the effect of, that white hoe won't outlast me. I was your first and I'll be the last. You'll see. Something to that effect, right? And Jax was like, who was the white hoe you were referring to? And Monica admitted she was talking about Wendy. Then Jax says, what do you mean by you were Ozzie's first? And Monica, she tells the truth. She's like, I was his first experience. And Jax probes a little bit more. And Monica admits that she was Ozzie's first sexual experience when he was just 13 years old. And when they flashed to the crowd in the courtroom, you could tell that Ozzie's mom was pissed off. Like she wanted to come and put them hands on Monica. But the dad, to me, this is where I got suspicious of Ozzie's dad. Like Ozzie's dad was basically just holding the mom back. But I couldn't tell if he was surprised by that information or not, because Monica also mentioned on that stand that it was Ozzie's dad that hired her to begin with. So I'm starting to look at the dad a little bit sideways now. Like, did the dad kill Wendy? But the only thing that doesn't really make sense about the dad killing Wendy is, why would he kill Wendy and then just have his son be on trial? Like, why would you put your son in that situation? I mean, I know we've seen crazier things on TV, but that would be totally effed up. And now we saw a very emotional scene in the parking deck where Monica confronted Ozzie after the trial. And I just couldn't understand why they didn't lock Monica up right away. Like, I don't think there's a statute of limitations when you're a child molester. I thought she should have been in jail. But anyway, she confronts Ozzie. How could you do this to me? Ozzie and her are screaming at each other. And Ozzie says to her, like, it's like Ozzie found his voice. Ozzie found his strength. And he's like, it didn't dawn on me till recently that you're a child molester and that you're a criminal. And I never want to effing see you again. And Monica is hysterical. Monica is like, no, I love you. I'm always going to be here for you. You're going to regret this, Ozzie. It was just such an emotional scene. And it was so sick. And you could tell that their relationship is so complicated. Now, let's talk about Daniel. We see Daniel at a bar talking to a man. The man introduces himself as Lincoln Culpepper, and he's a journalist. Daniel pretends to be surprised. But mind you, Daniel saw this guy earlier in the episode going into a restaurant with Kristen. So Daniel intentionally went to sit by the guy at the bar. Daniel acts as if he's a fan of the journalist. And he asked him, like, listen, what's your next big story? And he tells Daniel that he had a big story that he was about to break. And he said he had an inside source that had all of the tea, right? Then right after this scene, we see Daniel frantically calling Alex, but Alex is not picking up. But we see Alex, he takes a hidden thumb drive that he hid inside of a book. And we see that he has a picture of Wendy in a very compromising position. It looks like she's about to have sex with somebody. She has like a belt or something around her neck. And it looks like she's about to get it in. With who? We don't know yet. Now, somebody put in my comments on the last review I did of this show that they think that Wendy was sleeping with Ozzie's father. And that could have kind of kicked off a series of events right there. So I was wondering, like, was Wendy about to have sex with Ozzie's father in that photo? Because now that seed is planted in my mind. Not sure, because again, we just don't have enough clues as of yet. Now let's talk about Sally. We see that Jax and Sally are out having drinks. And Tommy randomly walks in. Billable Bill, that is, right? And Sally asks him to join them. And Sally and Tommy are just flirting with each other. In fact, it looks like Jax is the third wheel and that Sally and Tommy are on a date. Sally excuses herself to go to the bathroom, and Jax tells Tommy, like, listen, you know, I need you to go home to your wife. You need to leave Sally alone because Sally got a lot going on right now. So Tommy, he listens and he walks out of the restaurant. But when Sally from the Valley came back and had a seat, she was disappointed that Bill left, right? And now it's Jax's turn to go to the bathroom. So Jax got up, she went to the bathroom, but she left her phone behind, right? Apparently her phone has no lock on it because Sally went right up in Jax's phone and gets Bill's number and texts him right away. And the next thing we know, we see a scene with Tommy smashing Sally. So I guess Jax was right when she called Sally a hoe on one of the last episodes, right? Because Sally does not know this guy at all, and she just went home with him just like that. But I wasn't mad that Sally went home with somebody right away. I was just mad that it had to be Jax's co-worker. Like, we as the audience know the tension between Jax and Tommy and how things may play out. But now I feel like Sally is going to be pillow talking with Tommy and telling Tommy things about Jax that he should not know. But Sally is messy. But now it all makes sense, because I was wondering too on the last episode, why did we keep learning so much information about Sally and that she's filing divorce from her husband? Again, that was one of those filler scenes that I'm like, I don't really care about Sally filing for divorce from her husband. Like, let's get to the courtroom drama. But now I understand why the writers wanted us to see all of those scenes with Sally and her husband. But guys, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts and theories below. Like, who do you think murdered Wendy now? Do you think that Ozzie's dad was involved? Do you think that it was multiple people involved in Wendy's murder? Do you think that Jax playing Monica like that was a appropriate. I totally think it was, but I'm a little bit scared for Jax too. Like, I hope Monica don't get too crazy and try to have Jax hurt. But overall, I'm conflicted. You know, I already have my suspect list that I talked to you guys about on the last few videos, but now I'm really side-eyeing Ozzie's dad. But again, it just doesn't make sense that his dad or his sister would do it and just let Ozzie go through all of this stress and this drama of trial and risk his life going to jail. But anyway, hopefully on the next episode, we get a little bit closer to figuring out this whodunit. If you made it this far in the video, please be sure to like this video and turn on your notifications for the next Reasonable Doubt recap. See you next time. Peace.